But yeah, and so here, one of the things that I have, I can't fathom anyways, is those who are without Christ. Okay,
Me either.
how do you
How do
survive?
they get through anything?
Right, because here's the difference. I am still going to go through trials, just as the non-believer is going to go through trials. Okay, I'm going to go through hardships, just as the non-believer is going to go through hardships. But here's the difference. I have Jesus Christ with me. Okay, I have someone I can rely on, someone who will help me in those times of need. Okay, I have someone I can turn my life over to and say, hey, I can be like David. I don't understand what is going on. Why isn't the enemies around me? Why are these attacks happening?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whereas an unbeliever, what do? I mean, you have nobody. Okay, and so yeah, Christ is vitally important, and so that's what I like about our church here, is that we are going to make it a priority to go out to our community and share Christ, because we want others to know what we have,
Yes.
to have what we have, know what we know, have what we have.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be focusing on evangelism and of course discipleship, which I think we already do well in discipleship,
Mm-hmm.
but we're going to continue on in that way, in that area, and do those things so that other people can come to know Christ
Mm-hmm.
and can live their life with Him. One of the follies, I guess, of sharing testimony is that once people are saved, that they say, "Oh, the life is perfect."
No.
You know that.
And I didn't, and I never expected it to be perfect. I think that's why I was, I was a little worried that I didn't have a good testimony, because there was no lightning, there was no fireworks. I didn't have anything that it really felt like, I had to say, God, please take this from me. I've really never been in that part, and I guess that's where a lot of people misinterpret, well, you don't have a very good testimony, you're not a very good Christian.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Oh, I understand that. I understand that. And so I would say the opposite. I would say God's blessing was upon you as a young person.
Yes.
Growing up in the church.
Yep.
Okay. You had a blessing and didn't have to deal with some issues that other people had to deal with.
Yeah, very
Okay.
true. Very true.
And so God's blessings were upon you at a young age. And that is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got to see Christ. You got to witness Him. You got to see His workings in your family as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and well, all throughout your life.
Right.
Okay, and so you kind of grew up with that. I am actually a third generation Christian, third generation pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, believe it or not. So my grandfather was the first generation Christian, and he got saved at an older age.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, not old, but
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't a kid when he got saved. Okay, goes to school, becomes a pastor. Didn't pastor very long, but does become a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Has 3 kids, 2 boys. Both of them end up becoming preachers.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and so then my dad has my brother and I. Both of us ended up becoming preachers. And so we got to see God's blessing in our life. But before that, I mean, we came from Scotland. Our roots is McGregor's, and so McGregor's don't have a good name. I mean, they were actually used as monetary value. If you brought in a McGregor head, it would be worth so much money. So my family history is not one of good. Now, my family, the McGregors there, were very brutal as well. They had no nonsense, but they were, I mean, there's a lot of bad history, I guess you could say, from the McGregor side. And a lot of people in Scotland don't like the McGregors even still today.
Yeah.
So, because of that. But God redeemed us, redeemed our family. And so we're seeing a generational blessing coming from all the cursings that we had done.
Mm-hmm.
And now my kids are 4th generation believers. All 3 of my kids are out of the house, and all 3 of them, they get to make their own choices, own decisions. And all 3 of them choose to go to church.
Yep.
And how awesome is that?
Yes. Great kids.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so we're seeing that. And so we do see where it's passed on to generations. But here's the thing also, is I don't believe that anybody is too far gone. Okay, so example, if you are raised without Christ, okay, let's just do the opposite. Okay, that we weren't raised in a Christian home, we didn't have Christian families, our parents were A, B, C, D, you name it, alcoholics, drug addicts, whatever. Okay, I witnessed my mom. This isn't real life, but maybe you witnessed your mother getting beat all the time or something like that, you know. And so what happens is usually when you grow up watching your mother get beat, especially if you were a daughter, then you yourself end up usually growing up there in an abusive relationship, an abusive household. Okay, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
Okay, we can break that curse, especially through Jesus Christ.
Yes.
You know, Christ can do many things. He died. This is the thing that I love. He died for every type of sin. Because I've had people say to me, you don't know, Scott, you don't know the sins that I have done. You're right. You're true. I've also had people say, you don't know the amount of sins that I have done. You're right. You're true. Okay, I don't. Okay, but here's the thing. They don't know the God whom we serve.
Right.
There is not a verse in the Bible. I can say, hey, look through the Bible right now. Find me a verse where it says, if you sin this many times, then you're outside of God's grace and can never be saved. You're not going to find that.
No.
There's no too many sins that you can do where God cannot save you. You can look through the Bible. And if you do look through the Bible, you're going to see people in the Bible who are godly people doing all sorts of sins. And sins that we would consider as humans bad sins. Okay?
David comes to mind.
David comes to mind, right?
Yep.
Okay, and rightfully so. But yet they have been saved by the grace of God. So the type of sin doesn't matter because God has died for every type of sin. Okay? And the amount of sins doesn't matter because, again, Christ has died for every type of sin, no matter how many times we have done that sin. We are not outside of the grace of God. So our job is to share Christ. Okay? Hey, this is what Christ has done for me, and this is part of what we're doing right here, Kathy, is we're like, hey, God has blessed me here. God has done this for me here. And I want you to be able to surrender to Christ and to know this life. It's not perfect. I still mess up. I'm not so holy that I never sin. Okay? We're not going to say that. We're not going to do that. We do sin. We do fail. But hopefully the longer that we're a Christian, the less we sin.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Hopefully that we're growing to become more and more like Jesus Christ.
Yes.
That's what the believer is supposed to be doing anyways.
Yes.
Is becoming a believer in Jesus Christ and becoming like Him. But when Christ is in our life, He covers over the multitude of sins that we have done. And then when we do fail, when we do sin, we do mess up, we can still call upon God. He's not there. I heard a guy say this one time. This is when I was really young. I couldn't even tell you who. He says, you know, I feel like God is out there and waiting for me to mess up. And when I mess up, He's there with a big stick just waiting to beat me down. It's like, what on earth, man? You don't know the God I know. I don't know who you're serving, but my goodness. God is a God who is gracious. You know, in Jonah, you said you read Jonah in your devotion times there. Jonah chapter 4, verse 2. There's 5 characteristics that Jonah gives that he attributes to God. This is the way God is, okay? That He is gracious. And He is a gracious God. We serve a gracious God. We serve a compassionate or patient God. He is.
Yes.
He is patient with us.
Yes, He is.
Okay? There's times I've messed up, and not just once, twice, 3 times, but many times in a row.
Yeah.
And He's still patient with me. Loving kindness. Okay? He demonstrates His loving nature towards us. Okay? And slow to anger is another one. Oh my goodness. You know,
And that's a trait I wish I would hurry up and get.
You need to read the book of James. He talks about that. Maybe that should be your next Bible
I will,
study book.
yes, yes.
Read James. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, he talks about that, being slow to anger, and then forgiving. He says a God who relents. Okay, in the book of Jonah, and that means a God who forgives. He forgave Nineveh. Okay, for their wrongdoings, and they did a lot of wrongdoings.
Yeah.
Okay, and he forgave them. He's a God who forgives. So he attributes those 5 characteristics of God, and there are many more, but he gives those 5 in Jonah. And it's funny because in chapter 4, God gives all 5 of those to Jonah. He says, "Hey, God, this is who you are." God demonstrates all 5 of those in chapter 4 to Jonah. Okay, and so, anyways, but God does all those things, and we're not too far from God, and that's what I love. Okay, there's no person. I don't care what you have done. I don't care what sins you've done, how many sins you have done. We're not too far from Christ. Okay, and we need Christ in our life.
Amen.